So talking about like getting started, right? Like as Sangi was talking about, like express your creativity. It is incredibly important that you find some avenue to do that. And I didn't want anyone to get it mixed up. Like when I said, "Oh yeah, that's why I love making games," that works for me. And I think he absolutely made the right point about um, games can be very difficult to get like that. It can be discouraging because there are so many disciplines. You have to do some kind of art or some kind of programming. Usually, like there are engines and tools that will make that easier. Maybe you can just make a text-based games, and that reduces it mostly down to just writing and logic. But at the end of the day, there are plenty of ways to express your creativity, and I think that finding some outlet for your creativity is incredibly important. But when it comes to my personal like journey in game development, I guess um, what I've just started doing is I came up with a list of games that I want to make. Um, Ideas that have been like banging around in my head for a long time, and I was paralyzed by the difficulty of picking which one of these am I going to make. And it really goes back to that same line that Sangi was mentioning, and I have long internalized from back when I watched extra credits. But that concept of fail faster is incredibly important. So, what I decided to do was over the course of the next 8 months, I'm going to spend 1 month prototyping each of these ideas. And that it wasn't supposed to, but that started with making Dice Aspect. I have wanted to make a Slay the Spire type game um, with my own creative twist on it. It wasn't this, but having a card battler system is the foundation for one of the ideas. Um, but here, I'll open the document. I'll show you all what my game dev plan is. And there's a lot of stuff on here that you know may not make the most sense to people, but here's the template, right? The template is for every game idea I had, and I'll show it off with the one at the end here. There's a lot of text for each of these, but I'll get into it really quickly because I think this is important. But essentially, I had the elevator pitch, which is like, how can I describe this in the shortest amount of words as possible? Like, what would it say underneath the Steam capsule image? I've got the high concept, which is like going maybe a little more abstract. Elevator pitch and high concept are like very similar to each other. Key features. This is more like a breakdown list. Gameplay. What is it like? What does it actually play? How like what sort of genre is it? Story. What kind of story is it? Because I realize that story is really important to me, and the kinds of stories that I can tell. Um, when I had ideas in this list that didn't have a story attached to them, when I tried to think of things that are like philosophically important to me and how I could write a story about it, I became way more excited to actually make that idea in the first place. And that's sort of like what themes are. Like the story is characters and whatever and world involved, and then themes are um, the actual like what is philosophically important to me in a like a few small words. Then there's the actual scope of the project. Like, is this something that I can do by myself? Do I need a team of other people to work with? Then I have appeal, which is like, what do I how do I consider this to be like appealing to other people? Is this something that I'm going to be making just for my own sake, or can I actually see like if I ever want to break out and make games on my own without having to work a day job, can I sell this as a product? Which, it's unfortunate that you have to think of art as also a product. And maybe it is a little too stressful for some people. But in my case, yeah, that's what appeal is meant to look at. Challenges. Naturally, like if a game is 3D, I don't know the first thing about making a 3D game. So if I think that the idea works well, it's a challenge if I have to build it in 3D. Considerations. These are like things I'm not sure about. Like, could the game be built like this? Could the game be built like this? Absolutely. Go ahead and take a print screen of this. That's why I'm like trying to zoom in on it so much. If you think that's going to be helpful, I can't share this document because, like I said, there's a lot of other stuff in here that I don't want people to just like snipe all my ideas or whatever. But I can maybe like try to find a way to share this template at least. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of other like personal stuff as well. Like, uh, which, you know what, I don't care. I'll show a little bit of that at the end. Then there's the actual systems, and then why I want to make this. And I think that it'll be easiest to explain this if I just scroll up and start going through one of these. So let's take a look at, sure, Warfronts. Okay, so elevator pitch for Warfronts. You can see that beneath this, there's a bulleted list of all the drafts and the ideas that I had to, like, you can basically ignore all of that because I was just iterating on stuff, and this is what I came up with. So, Warfronts, take a stand against tyranny, turn-based strategy game where every choice matters, on and off the battlefield. Allocate troops across multiple simultaneous skirmishes to engage enemy commanders. Extend a hand of mercy in hopes of forging an alliance, claim the bounty on their heads to fund your war effort. Can you win the hearts and minds of the people you fight for, or will you pursue victory at all costs? High concept. This is just Slay the Spire plus Into the Breach, maybe plus Paper Mario, but definitely like some Fire Emblem mixed in there. Recruiting allies to confront your foes in a turn-based tactical skirmish like Fire Emblem. Confront foes in an active battle system like Paper Mario. Don't know if that's just like one layer too far. Key features. It's a roguelite. You are like finding allies that you recruit along with you, like Slay the Spire, in a sort of like randomized map sort of thing. Turn-based strategy, you get the idea. That's what the like key features are. Gameplay, encounters take place on a 2D map. Between the map screen, like when you actually engage in a battle, you have the like Paper Mario style battle scene. Story, ragtime team of freedom fighters attempting to overthrow a tyrant. Themes, communication, trust, religion. Scope, roguelite, systems-driven, no-fixed campaign length, 12 characters to make this interesting, worthwhile. The appeal, like people like Into the Breach, people like Fire Emblem Heroes. This will be appealing to people who enjoy those games. That is the idea, at least. The challenges, this is very mechanically complex, and to actually construct an AI that feels interesting to fight against also falls under challenges. Considerations. Should combat be active or automatically resolve? Like, does it really make sense? As much as I love Paper Mario, does it make sense to inject that into here? Systems, this is a grid-based combat system. Why I want to make this, I love Into the Breach and Fire Emblem Heroes combat. I like the high variability that team composition affords. So I think that gives a good explanation of like how I thought through just one of these ideas. And then this can give me the information that I then need to go construct a game design document and then actually like make this. And then I'll just show thought process. You know what? Should I show that? Let me pull that over here onto the other monitor real quick and look a little more closely to make sure. Yeah. Okay. Because when I talk about thought process, what I'm actually talking about in the document is when I first started this, I felt awful. I had this like overwhelming feeling of like I can't decide on anything. I'm not going to be able to get anything done. I just like the first few days of making this document just felt like agony to like just get something down. I just kept trying to like bullet point. You know, I'm trying to like take these like swirling thoughts in my head and just get them down on paper, because then I can attack them and like try to see like, okay, I am conflicted because I have a question about what can I possibly make? Is this even going to be fun? Is this something I can feasibly sell to people at the end of it? Just getting those out onto paper helped, because when it was just all floating around in my head, I couldn't start to look at those questions objectively. So that's what the first couple days of that thought process section of the document were. Just getting those ideas, getting those problems out of my head onto paper. And then it was slowly looking through and saying like, okay, well, how do I address this problem? Well, I can probably talk to people about this. I can probably like ask people in my life for advice on these things. There's a game development community that I'm a part of. Maybe I can talk to some of them who've actually had some success in making games. Maybe I can talk to my partner and see what she thinks about some of these ideas, and just go back and forth and discuss, like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we did this, or if we tried that? Like, wouldn't it be fun to play a game like this? Just kind of talk about the ideas and see which one of these seems appealing to me. Um, and then, yeah, I just sort of like kept chipping away at things, and eventually like building out that task list, as I said, that template for um, how to evaluate each one of these ideas. That's what seemed to make sense to me, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to, like, you might have different criteria, right? Depending on where you're at. If you're just making something as a learning experience, rule this out the window, right? Um, but yeah, so I would highly encourage anybody who is having trouble with deciding what they want to make, how they want to get started. Just try to get as much of that out on paper as possible and see, is knowledge holding you back? Is but by knowledge I mean, like, do you need to learn how to use a game development engine before you feel comfortable with actually making something in it? Just try to identify what's stopping you, and what are the steps that you can take to overcome those obstacles. And yeah, that could be in game development. It could be in any kind of art, but it all comes back to what Sangi said about uh, finding some creative outlet is incredibly important. And I think you can take this same approach and apply it to any variety of creative outlet. It obviously needs some tweaking, but I think the base